The sun beat down. Kansas dust swirled, thick with anticipation. Hays City, a town on the edge of nowhere, held its breath. Saloon doors swung open, then shut, hiding curious eyes. A stranger rode in, tall in the saddle. Wild Bill Hickok.
The air crackled.
Men spoke in hushed tones, glancing at the Long Branch Saloon. Inside, another man, eyes as cold as steel, played poker. Bloody Bill Anderson. Two legends, their paths about to collide. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant howl of a coyote. A showdown was brewing. Wild Bill, a steely-eyed sentinel, lived by a code. His life was a testament to the rugged individualism of the Old West, where every man had to carve out his own destiny. He was a man of principle, a lawman who believed in justice above all else. His eyes, hardened by countless confrontations, reflected the harsh realities of frontier life. He was a symbol of order in a land teetering on the edge of chaos. Justice, swift and true, was his creed. In a world where the line between right and wrong was often blurred, Wild Bill stood as a beacon of integrity. His revolver was not just a weapon, but an extension of his unwavering sense of duty. He was known for his quick draw and deadly accuracy, skills that had saved his life on more than one occasion. He'd stared down death in countless gunfights, his Colt Navy revolver spitting fire and righteousness. Each encounter was a test of his resolve, a battle not just for survival, but for the soul of the frontier. The dust would settle, and Wild Bill would stand victorious, a testament to his skill and determination. His legend grew with each confrontation, tales of his bravery spreading like wildfire through the towns and settlements.
Bloody Bill, a specter of brutality, reveled in chaos. Unlike Wild Bill, his life was a descent into darkness, a journey marked by violence and bloodshed. He thrived in the shadows, his actions driven by a primal urge for destruction. His eyes, cold and unfeeling, mirrored the stormy skies that often accompanied his presence. He was a harbinger of doom, a man whose very name struck fear into the hearts of those who heard it. His name, a chilling whisper on the wind, spoke of massacres and mayhem. Stories of his deeds spread like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over the land. He was a ghost, a phantom that moved with deadly precision. The mere mention of Bloody Bill was enough to send shivers down the spine of even the bravest souls. The Civil War had forged him into a weapon, his soul stained with the blood of innocence. The horrors of battle had stripped away any semblance of humanity, leaving behind a creature of pure malice. He had seen the worst of mankind, and it had shaped him into a monster. The war had ended, but for Bloody Bill, the fight was never over.
Their paths, etched in blood and legend, were destined to converge. The West was a vast and unforgiving land, but it was also a place where destinies intertwined. Wild Bill and Bloody Bill, two sides of the same coin, were on a collision course. Their lives, so different yet so similar, were bound by the threads of fate. One sought peace, the other, oblivion. Wild Bill, with his unwavering sense of justice, longed for a world where law and order reigned supreme. Bloody Bill, consumed by his own darkness, sought only to bring chaos and destruction. Their goals were diametrically opposed, yet their fates were inextricably linked. In the heart of Kansas, their destinies intertwined, a confrontation as inevitable as the setting sun. The plains of Kansas, with their vast open spaces and endless horizons, would be the backdrop for their final showdown. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the land, the stage was set for a battle that would become the stuff of legend. Two men, each a product of their time, would face off in a duel that would decide the fate of the West. The echoes of their gunshots would reverberate through history, a testament to the paths of destiny that had brought them to this moment. The Long Branch Saloon buzzed with forced gaiety. The air was thick with the mingling sense of whiskey, sweat, and anticipation. Patrons, dressed in rugged attire, filled the room with animated conversations and boisterous laughter. Yet beneath the surface, an undercurrent of tension was palpable. The saloon, a haven for outlaws and lawmen alike, was a place where reputations were made and broken over a hand of cards or a quick draw. Whiskey flowed freely, the amber liquid catching the dim light as it was poured into waiting glasses. Laughter rang out, a brittle sound that barely masked the fear lurking in every shadow. The patrons, though seemingly carefree, cast wary glances around the room, ever watchful for the next sign of trouble. In the shadowy corners, deals were made, and secrets whispered, each one adding to the saloon's storied history. Wild Bill entered, his presence commanding silence. The doors swung open with a creak, and as he stepped inside, the room seemed to shrink around him. His reputation preceded him, a man known for his quick draw and unerring aim. Conversations halted mid-sentence, and the clinking of glasses ceased as all eyes turned to the legendary figure who had just walked in. All eyes turned to him, then to the poker table. The tension in the room ratcheted up a notch as the patrons realized the significance of his arrival. The poker table, where fortunes were won and lost, now became the focal point of everyone's attention. The players at the table shifted uneasily, aware that the stakes had just been raised.
Bloody Bill, a chilling smirk on his face, met his gaze. The outlaw, known for his ruthless nature and deadly skills, locked eyes with Wild Bill. His smirk was a challenge, a silent dare that spoke volumes. The room held its breath, knowing that a confrontation between these two titans was inevitable.
The air thickened, heavy with unspoken threats. The smoky atmosphere seemed to close in, wrapping the patrons in a suffocating embrace. Faces that had been animated moments before now wore expressions of worry and dread. The saloon, once a place of raucous revelry, had transformed into a powder keg, ready to explode at the slightest spark. A card slapped on the table, the sound sharp as a gunshot. Whispers died in throats. The players at the poker table froze, their intense expressions betraying the high stakes of the game. The card, a symbol of fate, lay on the wooden surface, its presence a harbinger of the drama about to unfold. The room, once filled with noise, now echoed with a tense silence. Wild Bill moved with measured steps, his gaze never leaving Bloody Bill. Each step he took was deliberate, a testament to his confidence and experience. The patrons watched in rapt attention, knowing that they were witnessing a moment that would be etched in the annals of history. Wild Bill's focus was unwavering, his every movement calculated to maintain the upper hand. The outlaw rose, his hand hovering near his holster. The tension in the room reached a fever pitch as Bloody Bill stood, his eyes never leaving Wild Bill's. His hand, poised near his weapon, was a clear indication that he was ready for a showdown. The patrons, caught in the grip of suspense, could only watch and wait, their fates intertwined with the outcome of this deadly encounter. Time seemed to stop, every tick of the clock echoing in the sudden silence. The saloon, once a cacophony of sound and movement, was now a tableau of frozen expressions and bated breath. Each tick of the clock was a reminder of the inexorable march of time. Yet in this moment, it felt as though the world had paused, holding its breath in anticipation of the inevitable clash between two legends. Section 4. Seconds to eternity. A flicker of movement, the clang of metal on wood. Bloody Bill's hand darted lightning fast towards his gun.
But Wild Bill was faster.
The roar of his Colt Navy shattered the tense silence. The saloon erupted in a cacophony of screams and gunfire. 2 shots, one from each gun. The echo hung in the air, thick with the smell of gunpowder. Bloody Bill stood frozen, a look of disbelief on his face. Then, he crumpled to the floor, a crimson stain blossoming on his chest. Wild Bill, untouched, stood over him, smoke curling from the barrel of his gun. Section 5. Aftermath of Thunder. The air was thick with tension, the kind that only follows a storm of violence. The town had been quiet before, but now, it was a silence that screamed of the chaos that had just unfolded. Silence descended, heavy and absolute. It was the kind of silence that seemed to press down on the shoulders of every man, woman, and child in the town. The kind that made you hold your breath, afraid to break the stillness. The smell of gunpowder lingered, a grim reminder of the violence that had just transpired. It mixed with the scent of sweat and fear, creating a potent cocktail that hung in the air, refusing to dissipate.
Wild Bill holstered his gun, his face an impassive mask. His eyes, however, told a different story. They were the eyes of a man who had seen too much, done too much, and yet knew that this was far from over.
He surveyed the scene, his gaze cold and unwavering. Bodies lay strewn across the saloon floor, a testament to the brutal efficiency of his justice. Each one a story, each one a life snuffed out in the blink of an eye. The townsfolk, faces pale with shock, slowly emerged from their hiding places. They had seen violence before, but this was different. This was a reckoning, a moment that would be etched into their memories forever.
Whispers, like startled birds, filled the air. They spoke of the heroics of Wild Bill, of the terror that Bloody Bill had wrought, and of the uncertain future that now lay before them. Each whisper carried a weight, a fear, a hope.
Bloody Bill, the terror of the plains, lay dead. His reign of terror had come to a sudden, violent end. The townsfolk had feared him, but now, as they looked upon his lifeless body, they felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Wild Bill, the embodiment of justice, had delivered the fatal blow. He stood over the body, a silent guardian of the peace. His job was done, but the weight of it would stay with him forever. The legend of that day, etched in gun smoke and blood, would be told and retold, a stark reminder of the untamed West. It was a story of bravery, of justice, and of the harsh realities of life on the frontier. The saloon, once a place of laughter and camaraderie, now stood as a silent witness to the cost of peace. The townsfolk would rebuild, they would move on, but they would never forget the day that Wild Bill brought justice to their town. It was a day that would live on in the annals of history, a testament to the enduring spirit of the Old West.